Steve Iwanek for Falcon Media Sports Network live here at Ford Field, the home of the Detroit Lions and also the home of the 2023 Quick Lane Bowl. Minnesota and Bowling Green squaring off with each other in this one. That was, again, another instant classic between these two teams in programs' histories. This series was tied 2-2 heading into this fifth game between the two programs, but it was the Golden Gophers who come out the victors in this year's Quick Lane Bowl. They win it 30-24 over Bowling Green. This game was a lot of fun. From really the very first drive of the game, it was Bowling Green who got the ball first to begin tonight's contest, and it was Odu Hilaire catching a 46-yard bomb from Connor Bazelak here in a little deep post pattern. That got Bowling Green on the board first, and they had a 7-0 lead early on Minnesota. That got the crowd fired up as well. But the Golden Gophers came back down the field on their opening drive. They did a little more low and slow like. They used their ground game, and I tell you what, Minnesota's ground game was absolutely fantastic. Only 281 yards of offense overall for Minnesota, I should say, today, but 26 passing yards and 255 rushing yards. It was almost like we were watching Army and Navy, the way these two teams were running, especially Minnesota, the way they were just running the rock over and over and over again, just trying to wear down that front four and the front seven of Bowling Green in this contest. But they go down the field, and then eventually it's going to be Cole Kramer finding a wide open receiver for a touchdown there. But Minnesota tries to go for two. They go with a little bit of an exotic look for their kicker, who tries to, it appeared to be it was going to be a sort of a pop pass as he was rolling out to his left, but he runs out of room. He tries to leap in himself, but he falls short. So Bowling Green has a 7-6 lead in that first quarter. After all that, things just kind of got a little bit ugly on the offensive end. A lot of punts, a lot of 3-and-outs, just sloppy play. Bowling Green had some issues running the football today. Minnesota obviously had their issues passing the football. They only had one scholarship quarterback on their roster today, and so you could tell it was just the passing game was not in sync for most part of the game here for Minnesota. So we head into the halftime locker room, and Bowling Green, after getting an interception off of Cole Kramer, able to get a field goal out of it, and they take a 10-9 lead into the halftime locker room. But it was that third quarter that really spelled some doom for the Orange and Brown. They got themselves down by double digits, 2 scores in fact. It was a 14-0 scoring advantage for Minnesota in that third quarter. They used their ground game once again, as we were able to see Cole Kramer get one in from 1 yard out, a little tough quarterback sneak that really it was a questionable call depending on where you were looking at it from the angle, but the officials deemed it a touchdown. The review kept it as stands on the field, so Minnesota gets that touchdown, and then later on, gears to the tight end, a little play action from Kramer. He's able to find him in the corner of the end zone, and Minnesota had a 23-10 lead heading into the fourth quarter. But Bowling Green, the team that they've been all season long, they're not going to give up. They gave themselves a chance in this contest. We see here Payshawn Wimberly from 18 yards out, finally seeing a little bit of life in that running game. He's able to take one into the end zone to make it 23-17. But then Minnesota, they go right back down the field and get a score of their own, and this time it's Darius Taylor, the freshman from Detroit, Michigan, able to punch one in from about 17 yards out. That gave Minnesota a 30-17 advantage about halfway through that fourth quarter. Now, why do I say that could be a concern? Well, of course, the score is what it is, but it's also because of the timeout issue that we saw for Bowling Green in the second half. We saw one very early elected out because of some defensive substitution issues, and really that was just a theme of the game for Bowling Green. They just seemed to be out of sync in terms of what play calls, what personnel were supposed to be on the field today for the Orange and Brown at many crucial times of this game. So Scott Loeffler had to burn through a lot of his timeouts. He only had one going into this next drive, but Bowling Green, they worked their way down the field, multiple fourth down conversions that we saw out of Connor Bazelak with his arm, and then eventually at the 2-yard line after a pass interference call on a second down, we see Connor Bazelak, a little bit of a quarterback draw, something we won't see too often out of Bazelak. He's able to fight his way into the end zone, stretch that ball across, and made it a one-score game at 30-24. So it comes down to an onside kick. Bowling Green kicks it, and the Golden Gophers recover it. And Minnesota, after another first down on that drive to put away Bowling Green, is able to take home the Quick Lane Bowl championship. They win it 30-24 over Bowling Green.
Both teams had some adversity they had to overcome with people not playing, and my hat's off to Minnesota. They were able to make a few more plays than us, but overall, we can't look at this as a negative. We lost the football game, but we played our tails off, and we were outmanned a little bit with their defensive front on our offensive front. But our offensive front battled and was able to put us in position to receive an onside kick and then go down and try to win the game.
All right, so for Bowling Green, they end their season with another bowl loss and another inability to get into a conference championship game. Of course, last season they had a chance to get into one if they could have beaten the Ohio Bobcats, but they did not. And then this year, big losses to Miami and OU spelled some doom for them, despite the fact that they finished the regular season on a really hot streak, winners of 5 of 6. And so for Bowling Green, it's another frustrating way to end the season, but we saw a lot of good things out of this Bowling Green team. First off, we'll talk about some of the weapons on the outside. Odu Hilaire had a really great game today for Bowling Green. He had the big touchdown from 46 yards out, multiple catches, in fact, all game long. Harold Fannin, who Falcon fans were unsure if he was going to come back because of his transfer portal rumors that were hovering around him. He decides he's going to come back for another season. He plays today, has multiple big plays for Bowling Green. He even used him at times out of the backfield in some run plays. He even tried one in the fourth quarter where he had a little bit of a toss play, and it was going to be a pass into the end zone, but he just overthrew a receiver in the back corner of the end zone. That could have been a highlight of its own there for Harold Fannin, not just for the game, but for his career, in fact. But we saw multiple players really try to step up and play some of their best football today, but Bowling Green, they just seem to be out-personneled against a Minnesota team that, despite their record, they're a Big Ten team. They're big. They're physical. This is a team that beat the Iowa Hawkeyes, who went to the Big Ten championship game this season. So this is a Minnesota team that knows how to play kind of an uglier, tougher football, style of football, and they were able to pull away and get that 6-point win here in Detroit against Bowling Green. So for the Falcons, they're going to have a lot of guys come back. Some guys are leaving for graduation, others for the transfer portal. A lot of that still is yet to be known, and who exactly all will be back, who will be coming in for Bowling Green. I know they brought in 21 recruits this offseason as well. So Scott Leffler's had a team that is going to have a team, I should say, that is going to come into next year, and they're going to have a lot to like. Their defense is going to be most of the part back, especially that defensive line. Terrion Stewart, they're all, really, you could argue an All-American type running back is going to be back. Both their quarterbacks, Connor Bazelak and Cam DeNorth, are also going to be back for the Orange and Brown, and Harold Fannin is going to be a big piece of that passing game. Now, all are coming back for a Bowling Green team that is going to look to try and not just win a bowl game, but they want to win a MAC championship. This is a team that wants to come back to this very venue a season later here next year, and they want to bring home some hardware, not go home in disappointment.
We've come up short in Ford Field twice now, and we've got our dress rehearsals here now, and we'll be back. Let's just put it that way. We'll be back to Ford Field in a theater near you. Let's just put it that way.
So once again, the final score, Minnesota spoils Bowling Green's chances at getting a bowl win. The first one for Scott Loeffler in his time as head coach for the Orange and Brown. They win it 30-24 over the Falcons, and Bowling Green's 2023 season is officially over. For more content related to BGSU Athletics, you can always follow Falcon Media Sports Network on Twitter X. Just look up at BG_FMSN. Live here at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. Steve Iwanek for Falcon Media Sports Network. Wishing you happy holidays, and we'll see you in 2024.